Hi, my name is Alana Fisher, and today's date is January 26, 2022. Today we'll be talking about the enteric nervous system and specifically the short and long reflexes. So, what is the enteric nervous system? Basically, it's a network of neurons within the GI tract that can sense stimulus, integrate information, and create an appropriate response without the integration or input from the CNS. However, it does also interact with the CNS through sensory and autonomic neurons. So, within the GI tract, there are four important layers. Two of these layers are significant because that's where we'll find both plexuses from the enteric nervous system. So, as you can see here, these two layers, the submucosa and the muscularis externa, are significant when it comes to the enteric nervous system because this is where we find the submucosal plexus, located in the submucosa, and the myenteric plexus, located in between the two layers of muscle. So the muscularis externus consists of a circular muscle layer and a longitudinal muscle layer. So the myenteric plexus will be right in between. So what's interesting is that the ENS shares many features with the central nervous system, which is located in our brain. First, the enteric nervous system has intrinsic neurons, which are located within the two nerve plexuses that we just discussed, and these neurons lie completely within the wall of the gut. This is very similar to interneurons that are completely contained within the central nervous system. Also, the enteric nervous system releases more than 30 neurotransmitters and neuromodulators, and most of these are identical to the molecules found in the brain. A third similarity is that the glial cells found within the ENS are very similar to the astroglia found within the CNS. Capillaries that surround the diffusion barrier are not very permeable within the enteric nervous system, and this is very similar to the blood-brain barrier found in the cerebral cortex. And finally, looking at the integrating center, we can see the enteric nervous system as its own integrating center because the reflexes can originate, integrate, and be acted upon entirely within the GI system. This is very similar to the CNS, as the CNS is an integrating system for many things within the body. So, the enteric nervous system has two basic reflex pathways, and we're going to look at the first one, which is the short reflex pathways. Basically, a short reflex originates within the ANS and is integrated and acted upon without any outside input. And this is done through the use of the little brain, as you can see here. So let's have a look at this diagram here. Basically, it starts with a local stimuli that could be distension, presence of food, osmolarity, or acid. And this stimuli is then picked up by receptors within the enteric nervous system. Once this sensory information has been integrated in the little brain, there's a variety of reflexes that occur to help with GI motility, release of bile and pancreatic secretions, enzyme acid and bicarbonate synthesis. We also have the GI peptide synthesis, and a variety of functions that are useful when it comes to the GI tract and GI functioning. So let's take a look at some short reflex examples. If you recall, we were talking about the submucosal and myenteric plexuses. So they have specific functions that are actually integrated and controlled by the short reflexes within the enteric nervous system. So first, let's look at the submucosal plexus. This contains sensory neurons that receive signals from the lumen of the gut, and it ultimately controls secretion by GI epithelial cells. So, for example, the short reflexes will mediate an ENS neurotransmitter known as gastrin-releasing peptide, and this ultimately controls gastrin release. Also, we have pepsinogen release from chief cells, and this is also mediated by the short reflex pathways. Secondly, looking at the myenteric plexus, this is mostly to do with motility. So segmental mixing and propulsion is most often seen. So segmental mixing is basically churning up of the food and contents within the GI tract, creating that chyme, and propulsion is moving the chyme and substances down throughout the gastrointestinal tract. So long reflexes are a little bit more complicated, so let's have a look at these. Basically, digestive reflexes that integrate in the CNS are long reflexes no matter where they originate. So, in long reflexes, the smooth muscle and glands of the GI tract are under autonomic control. So, the parasympathetic division, or rest and digest division, would enhance GI functioning, while the sympathetic division will inhibit GI functioning. So there's something known as cephalic reflexes, and these basically originate in the brain and consist of feed-forward and emotional reflexes. Basically, feed-forward reflexes begin with a stimuli such as the sight or smell of food, and it prepares the digestive system for the food that the brain is anticipating. Now looking at emotional reflexes, this can be a variety of things ranging from traveler's constipation to butterflies in the stomach. These reflexes are also responsible for psychologically induced vomiting and diarrhea. So just bringing it all together, we can see how short and long reflexes not only have their own specific functions, but also work together to integrate and act upon a variety of information and important functions within the gastrointestinal system. This can be seen by looking at the double arrows, they're color-coded right here, which suggests that many processes require not only integration within the ENS, but also the CNS. And while the ENS is very important on its own, many reflexes could not be carried out without central nervous system involvement. Thank you for watching my presentation.